What if I told you that the most fearless people aren't those who've never felt fear, but those who've stared into the abyss of their own consciousness and found something most people spend their entire lives avoiding? Today, we're diving deep into something that will make you uncomfortable. We're talking about the dark side of self-awareness, a double-edged sword that simultaneously liberates and isolates, empowers and haunts. This is the territory of the Sigma male. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why true self-knowledge is both armor and burden. Let's get into it. The mirror no one wants to face. Self-awareness. It sounds like a virtue, doesn't it? Something we should all aspire to. Personal development channels worship it. Therapists recommend it. Everyone talks about knowing yourself. But here's what the self-help gurus won't tell you. True self-awareness has a dark side that most people aren't equipped to handle. While the average person goes through life with a comfortable layer of self-deception, a protective fog that shields them from uncomfortable truths, the Sigma male operates without this luxury. He's torn away the veil. He sees himself clearly, his flaws, his contradictions, his darkest impulses, and his greatest potential. And this clarity, it comes at a cost. Imagine standing naked in front of a mirror. But this isn't just any mirror. This mirror doesn't just show your physical form, it shows every thought you've tried to suppress, every weakness you tried to hide, every uncomfortable truth you've buried beneath layers of justification and rationalization. Most people would look away. The Sigma male doesn't have that option. Not because he's brave, but because once you've seen the truth about yourself, you can't unseen it. And this is where something interesting happens. This is where fear begins to lose its grip. Because think about it. When you've already confronted the worst parts of yourself, your capacity for selfishness, your potential for failure, your fundamental aloneness in this universe, what external threat could compare? Nothing.
The loneliness of clarity. But here's the paradox, and this is where it gets dark. Self-awareness brings clarity, but clarity brings isolation. The Sigma male exists in a perpetual state of metacognition, thinking about his thinking, observing his emotions rather than being swept away by them, analyzing his motivations with surgical precision. While others react, he reflects. While others follow their impulses, he understands his. But this creates a profound disconnect. Have you ever tried to have a deep conversation with someone who's never questioned their beliefs, never examined their biases, never challenged their assumptions? It's like speaking different languages. The Sigma male often finds himself surrounded by people, yet fundamentally alone, because few others operate at the same level of self-examination. This isn't elitism, I want to be clear about that. This is isolation, and it's the price of awareness. But here's what's powerful about this. This isolation breeds fearlessness. When you don't need external validation because you've done the internal work of knowing who you are, rejection loses its sting. When you don't need to belong to feel complete, exclusion becomes irrelevant. When you've made peace with your own darkness, other people's judgments can't touch you. The Sigma male fears nothing because he's already faced the most terrifying opponent, himself. The death of comfortable illusions. Now let's talk about something that's going to make you really uncomfortable. Most people, and I mean most people, live their lives cushioned by comfortable illusions. I'm a good person. Things happen for a reason. If I work hard, I will succeed. People get what they deserve. Self-awareness murders these illusions one by one. The Sigma male recognizes that morality is complex, that the universe isn't different, that hard work doesn't guarantee success, and that life is fundamentally unfair. He sees the randomness. the chaos, the arbitrary nature of fortune and misfortune. This knowledge could be crushing, and for many it is. But here's the way the transformation happens. Once you stop expecting the universe to make sense, to be fair, to follow some cosmic rules, you stop being disappointed by reality. You stop being shocked by betrayal, unmoved by setbacks, unshaken by chaos, because you never believed in the fairy tale to begin with. This is the dark gift of self-awareness. The death of naive hope makes room for resilient action. You don't hope things will work out, you make them work out. You don't wait for justice, you create your own outcomes. You don't need the world to be fair because you've never counted on it being so.
Emotional sovereignty. While others are puppets to their emotions, the self-aware Sigma male is the puppeteer. Now, notice, I didn't say he doesn't feel emotions. That would make him a sociopath, not a Sigma. Instead, he experiences emotions with one critical difference. He observes them rather than being consumed by them. Anger arises, and he notes it. Fear emerges, and he acknowledges it. But these emotions don't control his actions because he's developed the rare ability to create space between stimulus and response. This emotional sovereignty is what others perceive as fearlessness. When someone insults him, he doesn't react with defensive anger because he's already examined his ego and knows its tricks. When faced with a threatening situation, he doesn't freeze with fear because he's familiar with that sensation and knows it's information, not a command. But here's the dark side, and this is important. This emotional distance, while powerful, can feel like a glass wall between you and the fullness of human experience. Joy is observed, but perhaps not fully felt. Love is understood, but maybe not completely surrendered to. The Sigma male's greatest strength, his ability to not be controlled by emotion, can also be his greatest weakness, creating a subtle disconnection from the raw, messy, beautiful chaos of unfiltered human experience. The burden of radical responsibility. Now we come to perhaps the heaviest part of this whole thing. Self-awareness brings with it an uncomfortable truth. You are responsible for your life. Not partially responsible, not mostly responsible except for the bad stuff. Completely, totally, overwhelmingly responsible. The Sigma male can't blame his parents, his circumstances, his bad luck, or society for where he is because his self-awareness won't allow that comfortable escape. He sees clearly the role his choices, even the tiny, seemingly insignificant ones, have played in creating his current reality. And let me tell you, this is exhausting. It's much easier to be a victim. Victimhood comes with sympathy, excuses, and the comfort of knowing your failures aren't really your fault. But the Sigma male has traded that comfort for power. The power that comes from knowing that if he created his current situation, he can create a different one. This radical responsibility eliminates fear because it eliminates helplessness. You can't be terrified of circumstances you know you can change. You can't be paralyzed by obstacles you understand you have the power to overcome or navigate around. But the weight of this responsibility, it's immense. There's no one to save you because you are your own savior. There's no one to blame because you see your own complicity in everything. This is the dark side of empowerment, the crushing weight of endless agency. The Sigma's relationship with death. Perhaps the ultimate source of the Sigma male's fearlessness is his relationship with death. While most people live in death denial, constructing elaborate psychological defenses to avoid contemplating their mortality, the self-aware Sigma male has looked directly at the fact of his inevitable death and integrated it into his worldview. This isn't morbid, it's clarifying. When you truly understand that your time is finite, that one day you'll cease to exist, that all your accomplishments will eventually be forgotten, it puts everything else in perspective. That embarrassing moment, irrelevant. That financial setback, temporary. That person's opinion of you, meaningless in the context of the void we're all heading toward. This awareness of mortality doesn't make the Sigma male reckless, it makes him focused.
He doesn't fear death itself because he's accepted it as inevitable. What he fears is a life unlived, potential unrealized, authenticity sacrificed for the comfort of uttered approval. The dark side. Once you've accepted your own mortality, you operate outside the normal social contracts of fear. You can't be threatened with consequences because you've already accepted the ultimate consequence. You can't be controlled through fear because you've made peace with the thing everyone fears most. This makes a Sigma male powerful. It also makes him dangerous, not to others, but to systems of control that rely on fear to maintain compliance. Conclusion. So here's the truth about the dark side of self-awareness. It offers no way back to innocence. Once you've seen yourself clearly, once you've dismantled your illusions, once you've confronted your mortality and taken radical responsibility of your existence, you can't unknow these things. You're forever changed, forever isolated in some essential way from those who still live in comfortable delusion. But this darkness is also liberation. The Sigma male fears nothing because he's already faced everything, especially himself. He's walked through his own psychological underworld and emerged not unscathed, but unbroken, scarred perhaps, weary maybe, but free in a way that most people never experience. The question isn't whether you want to be a Sigma male. The question is, are you willing to pay the price of true self-awareness? The lowiness of clarity, the burden of responsibility, the depth of comfortable illusions, and the isolation that comes from seeing what others refuse to see. Most people aren't willing, and that's okay. Comfortable delusion's a perfectly valid way to live a life. But for those who can't look away from the mirror, who can't stop questioning, who can't unknow what they've learned about themselves and reality, welcome to the dark side of self-awareness. It's lonely here, but you'll never fear the darkness again because you learn to carry it with you, to make it part of your strength. The Sigma male doesn't fear nothing because he's never been afraid. He fears nothing because he's been afraid of everything, especially the truth about himself, and kept looking anyway. Outro. So if this resonated with you, drop a comment below. I want to know, are you willing to face the dark side of self-awareness? Or is comfortable delusion calling your name? Hit that like button if you found value here and subscribe for more content that doesn't shy away from uncomfortable truth. I'll see you in the next one.